Hello, and welcome, Simone, to the second episode of the Missing Piece, the Relationship Edition. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being here with us. I am so grateful that you're doing this.
You're so welcome. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. So, Simone, you've been my inspiration after Gary Douglas for following his knowing after he's like, I think Gary is one person who truly followed his knowing with respect to his life and living and the way he created everything, like with his business and with, I mean, everything. He doesn't only focus on having a business and access. He has so many other things going on along with having people who have his back and along with a team that actually works for him. And ever since I've been in Access for the past 4 years, I've read your books about Joy of Business. And when I first read Joy of Business, it was like, oh my God, she's writing about me. Like I'm exactly that. Like, you know, the way you Sorry, say that again.
I said, yes, it was just for you. I wrote it for you.
Yeah. And so for the past 20 years, you've been doing so many things. You've been the worldwide coordinator for Access, and now you're also facilitating the COP. But that does not, very often that does not mean that you don't have relationships or you don't have people that truly have your back and you don't have a life. It doesn't mean that. So in this reality, very often, it's either you have a great work life or a great marriage relationship or great friends and all of that. For you it's not either or, it's one thing. And so how do you actually create that?
Wow, how did I create it? That's an interesting question, because I would say that I just chose it. It was funny. I'm doing this radio interview on Thursday morning, and someone just sent me this information about there's apparently this artificial intelligence app or something that you can get this boyfriend, girlfriend on there or a friend on there, and they talk to you. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then the whole argument is that it's great for mental health, etc. And I just started to look at it and went, God, I'm so grateful for so many people that I have in my life. I definitely have never been short of a friend and never been short of someone who has my back. I mean, quite often, say in a class, we'll ask, and it's like, how many of you have at least one person in your life that doesn't judge you? And generally, there's a lot of people who don't have even that one person. I mean, family, it's like one of the biggest lies in the world. People say that they're supposed to have your back, but there's not many families I know that do. There's a lot of families that want to control you. They want to confine you. They want to box you and put you into what they've decided you should be, rather than actually allowing you to be everything you can be. I mean, I'm going to say it started with my father. My father was passed away a few years now, and he was one of the kindest men I've ever met. And he had a generosity of spirit that was huge. And he had an adventurous, sort of streak in him, but he was very adamant that education and finance were two things that he would always make sure that we had. And so he worked his whole life to make sure that we had that. And every choice I made, he would always say, Simone, it's your life. You need to go and choose your life. I will be here for you. And so I think at a very early age, I learned that someone like my father, who just cared about me so much, had my back, and I could do anything. I could screw up. I could, do something great, do something like, not so great. And he would always still be there. So that energy, I guess, I learned to receive that energy really early on. And I mean, I was talking to a friend the other day, and they were saying how much they have trust issues, and they really do. And I was like, what if you started receiving something from other people? Anything, like a meal, anything. But their point of view is, no, if I don't receive anything, then I don't have to trust anyone, and I don't have to put my barriers down. And I was talking to him saying, hey, what if you just start with something small? And I don't know, I think it's I would really like to see a lot of things change on this planet where people didn't have that place where they had trust issues, or they were always expecting to be stabbed in the back or someone to trip them over. It's like, what if we asked for a different reality? And I know myself, even about 2 years ago, I sat in this restaurant with a really good friend of mine, Claudia Kano, who's an Access Consciousness facilitator. And she said, I've been asking for more kind people to show up in my life. And I went, that's good. I'm going to do that too. And that's the thing. If you hear something like that, I mean, even if you're watching this and you, hear us talking about this, use it. Use those tools. Use those requests. Because if you don't ask for your life to be greater today than it was yesterday, then it won't be. If you don't ask for more kind people, for people who truly have your back, and I'm not talking, I think so many people misidentify that when you say someone has my back, that they align and agree with you. Nope, that's not it. I value the friendships I have where when I'm in a funk or something's going on, they won't align and agree with me. They'll ask me a question. Say, hey, what's up here? Like, what's going on? What can I help with? What can I contribute? And ask for people to show up that are willing to contribute to you. And you also contribute to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you say that, when you had that conversation with a friend where you said she was asking for more kind people to show up, I mean, for a lot of us, we don't even know if that's possible. Like, we just ask and you receive. Like,
that's going to a conclusion. Because you're going, oh, I don't even know if that's possible. Okay, so you're already looking for a conclusion and a result before you ask for it. No, ask for it. It's like nature doesn't go, okay, I have to have 3 sunny days and then 4 rainy days. No, make that 3.5 sunny days. They don't work it out, and they don't go to the wrongness if something doesn't show up. They just ask for it. So if you just ask for it and see what shows up, and what if you never, ever used anything as a reference point? So you're not saying, well, I mean, I know with relationships, for me, for years, I had the point of view, I'm not doing relationship because I couldn't see a good one. I couldn't see a relationship that I was like, oh, I would like to have that. So my point of view was I don't do relationship. Now, there's no question in that. That's just conclusion and answer. So, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, ended up chatting to me about it. And I was like, oh, you're right. It's like all I'm doing is going to a conclusion of something rather than being in question. Because what if I, Simone Milasis, can create relationship in a really different way? It's not based on referencing anything else that's ever existed here on planet Earth. And what if that's the way we were with business? That's the way we were with money, with our bodies, with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that conclusion, I'm so grateful you said that. I don't do relationship. Like, I catch myself very often, saying, you know what? I don't think I'm meant for relationship. I don't think I can do this. I don't think, I don't think I can have anything other than assholes. Like, I have a thing for assholes, I guess. But anyways, like, so obviously there are a lot of conclusions. There are no question in there. And
yeah. But how often do we go to the conclusions? Because then we can create what we've decided is a predictable life. So we go, oh, I'll conclude this like I'm not doing a relationship, rather than going, you know what? I'm up for anything. It's like having a relationship or not having a relationship doesn't mean anything. And what if I just asked to be greater today than I was yesterday, and asked for people to show up that were a major contribution to me in my life and everything that I can create? And if that shows up in and as a relationship, great. And be willing to be vulnerable. I mean, one of the things that we talk about, in Access Consciousness and in our book, Relationship Are You Sure You Want One, that I co-wrote with Brendan Watt, is the 5 elements of intimacy. And the 5 elements of intimacy is that place of, being, and you have to have this with you first. So you have to be grateful, honoring, trusting, in allowance, and be vulnerable with yourself first before you can have that with anybody else. So what even if you just ask for that to show up too?
So can you talk a little bit about vulnerability? Because in this reality, vulnerability is supposed to be weakness. And also, I think a lot of people have very different ideas of what vulnerability is. And
well, most people think vulnerability is being weak. Like that's what most people misidentify it as. Oh, they're vulnerable, they're weak. No, it's not. It's actually a huge strength. And I heard Gary Douglas describe vulnerability, which I thought was brilliant, at one point, saying it's like a marshmallow. It's like you poke it, and then it just goes back to being, the same shape. It's like if you're willing to be vulnerable, then you're just like, hey, this is it. You lay it all on the line. And it's not about like sitting down and like, I'm telling my truth now, blah, blah, blah. It's like being vulnerable with you. What is it that you actually truly desire? Like, do you actually desire a relationship? And if you do, then take some action to create it. And if you don't, that's okay too. But most people will choose something in order to prove something. So one of the questions I would ask, or give you all of the listeners to ask, is, what am I choosing this for? Am I trying to prove something with this choice? Because
Yeah.
if you can be brutally honest with you, then you can have, you can receive, you can know so much more, and life gets easier. But if you're lying to yourself, then what sort of platform are you creating?
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. Like, I love what you said about trying to have a relationship to prove something, because I turn 30 in about 9 days from today. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a relationship. I'm not married yet. And I don't have a family. And there's just so much wrongness in that. Especially, I come from India and from a
I was
South
going to
Indian.
say it's not wrongness in your world. It's
Yeah.
culturally. Culturally,
Yeah.
it's not correct. You're Indian. You're meant to be married off. You're meant to be, living with the man and his mother, and helping out the mother-in-law and all of that. There's a system. You're meant to go with that.
Yeah.
You're a bad
But
girl.
clearly, I'm not doing any of those things. So it's this whole thing about, okay, let me just find somebody before my birthday so I can say, okay, I'm not going to stay a spinster all my life, and I don't have all these questions coming at me. Every time somebody calls me to wish me birthday, they're like, you're not married yet, what are you doing about it? And that's the conversation. So it's, what is this whole
I mean,
stress
what
and
if
this?
you look at this though, Reshma? It's like, do you actually want to be married?
I don't think I care so much about marriage. I think I'd really like to have fun with somebody. I'd really like to be with somebody who can create my life with.
Yeah, and then that's the thing that shows up a lot too, because I mean, I was in a relationship with Brendan Watt for 8 years, and then we broke up the relationship probably 2 years ago, and I'm constantly in question and looking at this because there's aspects of relationship that I actually enjoy, that I like. And I like that engagement that you have with someone, like that closeness that you have. And not to give myself up for them or vice versa, but so that you can contribute to someone. They've got your back, So that's an energy that I actually really enjoy. So, you can get that in a relationship. You can also get that with a friend. You can get, so if you start to break it down of what it is that you actually desire and be honest with that. So if everyone's saying, hey, why aren't you getting married, blah, 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 and it's like, I'm not so sure marriage is for me.
Yeah. Oh
But
my
you've got
God,
to
that's
be okay with whatever it is you're choosing. Like, not justifying it. You don't have to prove anything. If you were never, ever justifying your reality, what would you choose?
yeah. Wow. Yeah, that. If I
Mm.
never have to prove anything to anybody, and
Oh,
if it did not mean that, if I was not married, I was not good enough, or if I was not married, I'm there's not something wrong with me, then what would I choose? Like, if there was
yeah.
nothing to prove at all.
Yeah, because there's not anything wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, what if you get to celebrate your 30th birthday from the sheer joy of living?
Yeah.
And it's like, and had way too much fun.
Yeah.
Because what if the purpose of life is to have fun, not to procreate?
Yes.
And you can do that from a choice, right? I'm not saying don't do it or don't be in a relationship, but do it because it's fun. I mean, friends of ours got married recently, and I love it. In their wedding vows, they actually said, from the wise words of Simone Milasis and Brendan Watt, if you're going to have a relationship, make it a great one. And that's what that's where I come from.
Yeah. So, when your book came out, do you want a relationship? What was that? Do you really want a relationship?
Called
Is that
relationship.
what it
Are
is
you
called?
sure you want one?
Yes, yes, that one. When it came out, I sat at a stretch for about 10 hours and I read the whole book. I read it because it was there was so much information in it. There
Mm-hmm.
was so much. Oh my God, I couldn't put my book down, and I was like, okay, cool. So, can you talk a little bit about that, and like, about the whole doing relationship differently and not from this reality and the rules and regulations of the whole procreation aspect?
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Watt and myself wrote that book because so many people asked us questions about how we created our relationship. I mean, in 8 years, we didn't have one fight. We even broke up the relationship, and it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, and it wasn't the hardest thing either. And we still didn't argue. We still didn't fight. And we had such a great honoring of each other, like those 5 elements of intimacy: gratitude, with the gratitude, allowance, trust, honor, and vulnerability. We had that with ourselves, and we had that with each other. And so we decided to put that into a book. And the book is really vulnerable. Like, there's a lot of stories in that book. I remember there was one man from India actually said to me, can't believe that some of the stuff that you put in that book, I can't even talk to my wife about some of this stuff, and you've written it down in a book. I was like, yeah. But what we wanted to do was not make it that we were right in any way. And I know when we broke the relationship up, a lot of people were like, devastated. They're like, oh my God, if Simone and Brendan can't do it, then how can I? But that's not, don't use anything as a reference point. Like, we looked at it and we were not creating the relationship anymore. We were maintaining it. And I think when a relationship comes to that place of maintenance, you get to choose. It's like, okay, have you done what you were meant to do together? Is it time to move on? Or, do you want to change something and create something different, which you have to be willing to be a change. I mean, Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And for both of us, we're so happy. We talk to each other pretty much every day. We have such a close friendship, and I'm so grateful to have him in my life, and I have no desire to be in a relationship with Brendan anymore. It was great. It's like we created so much together. We still create together. And, creating that book, we desired to get the access consciousness tools out there for people that if they truly wanted to create a good relationship, the tools are in there. And if you don't desire to create a relationship, that's okay too. We really desired for people to get that they're not wrong for anything that they're choosing, and they're not right either. I mean, the amount of people I see that choose a relationship and then they don't get out of, like, even though they're not having a good time, they don't get out of that relationship until they find another one. And it's like, what if it wasn't about passing the baton? What if you actually had some space for you? So there's just so many aspects of that. And can I say, with the book and with the tools, so many people don't want to use them, including us. Like, there were some of the tools that Gary gave us that I was like, really? And it's like, you want me to use that tool? And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I did, and it worked. I mean, a classic example that I remember is once we have a house, the house I'm in now, across the road from the beach. And I was cranky at Brendan for something. I don't even remember what it was. And I went for a walk on the beach, and Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, rang me at that time, and he said, hey, what's up? And I was like, rah, 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 I'm cranky at Brendan. And he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go home, and I want you to make everything about him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go home and make it all about him. I want it to be about me. Being a typical girl, I want it to be about me. And I knew that every other tool he'd given us had worked. So I went, okay, I'll do this. So I went home and I walked in the house, and I just made everything about him. And I mean, like, just asking him how he was, being attentive to him. I'm not kidding, Reshma. Within about 10 minutes, he was like, can I make you a drink? What can I make you for dinner? Like, sit down, relax. And I was like sitting there on the couch going, oh my God, this is actually working. It was, but what I would have done, and what so much of this reality is, walked into the house and done that typical female thing where a male says, what's up? Is anything wrong? And the woman goes, nothing, which means you should know exactly what's going on, and you should do exactly what I've decided you should do, even though I'm not going to tell you, I'm not even going to give you a hint. But if you don't get this right, you're in trouble for a very long time. And that's the sort of thing that I would love to see change in relationships, because it never creates anything greater. All it ever does is create separation. So I did what, I went in and made it all about him. Because it's like, none of that's not real. Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. So Simone, this whole chase, right? Everybody wants to be chased, and everybody wants to play these mind games in relationships. So can you talk about that? Like, what is the need to do that? And does that even create anything? Like, and how is that different from manipulation in a relationship?
Okay, well, it is a manipulation. You can, and if you are not willing to manipulate, then you are the one who will end up being manipulated. And what I'm going to say is, a lot of people find that they want someone who needs them, and yet the second that person gets needy, they're like, oh no, go away. Yeah. It's like nothing attractive about being needy. And yet most people desire to be needed. So what I would ask, and this is a place where you've got to get vulnerable with you, is if that sounds like you, ask, okay, so what am I trying to prove with this need that I've decided I must have?
Hmm.
And so start asking those questions. Because, I, for one, it's like, I mean, Gary said to me a while ago, he said, you do realize you like men who need you. And I went, yeah, I do. I love it when a man needs me. But the second they become needy, I'm like, oh my God, you've got me now. Yeah.
Change that. How
And
did you change?
well, I started to, because I'm definitely not looking at anywhere that I have this right or perfect at all. But what I do have is the desire and the willingness to change anything and everything at any moment and use the tools. So I have been
Yeah.
looking at that and just indulging in it and going, yeah, I love it when a man needs me.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something about it that I'm like, I can be there for them.
Yeah.
It's like there's a nice, it's a generative energy for me. And is it, will I change it? Probably. And at the moment, it's like, I don't know, it's nice. And look, I remember doing this class, and there was a guy in the class who was like in his late 20s or something. And we are talking about energy pools, which is something that you learn in Access Foundation class, I think it is. And energy pools, just basically, okay? And he said, oh my God, he said, every male kid needs to learn this, like at school. Because when a boy likes a girl, what does a boy do as a kid? They just push energy at the girl, right? And it's just like
Yeah.
their face. And then the girl's like, oh my God. Like I remember as a kid, I used to come home and there was this one boy, I mean, I don't know, I was like 8 or 9 or something. And there was this one boy that used to run up to me at school and he'd kick me in the leg and then run away. And I'd come home and I'd be really upset because this boy was kicking me. And mom went and spoke to his mom and she said, oh, I'm so sorry. She said, my son is in love with your daughter. And for some reason, he thinks that if he goes up and kicks her pays her this attention, she's going to like him. And it was like, oh, gosh, boys, that's a different way to go about this. So what I would say is all the insane points of view that everybody has about how to be with, a boy or a girl or a man or a woman, what if we could change that? And what if we could create a different reality and ask each and every day, what's my reality with relationship? What's my reality with what I would like to create? And then you get to choose. Because what if and sometimes you do need to hold back, like, because if you go, I'm not playing games anymore, I'm just going to be like, blah. And it's like, someone does just like lay everything down, ask, can this person hear this right now? Can they receive it?
Hmm.
Or what do they require? When someone says, hey, how's your day? And you just started out flirting, are they going to hear when you go, you know what? I had such a crap day. I've got this going on, this going on, this going on, this going on. And, it's like they might be like, whoa, this is a little intense, So
Yeah.
did they mean, how was your day? Or did they mean, please tell me that you had an amazing day and how much you adore me? Okay. So that's a manipulation. Give them what they can hear.
Right. Right. Oh my God. I am, these tools are so cool. I can go on and have these conversation with you forever. And I know you have a relationship done different class that's coming up, and it's a 2 days class, and everybody who'd like to have this conversation and get on to that class. So how different is that class? Like, I mean, we have so many classes in Access, but what is that class offers?
Look, the class is actually Brennan, Watt, and myself are doing it together, and it's going over 3 days, and it's going from 10 a.m. Australia time till 2 p.m. and we'll have a bit of a break in between, and so it's 4 hours a day, and you get a manual, and we will go anywhere. We'll talk about anything with relationships, and sex always comes up as well, and we. Essentially, I know Brendan and myself would really like to create, and we try and create the space for you to be able to talk about anything you desire, ask any questions you want, and really start to look at those places where people are stuck in relationship and sex. And what if you could do it and be different in relationships? Like, what if there was a totally different reality available? Like what Brendan and I created, it was like 8 years of awesome. And I see so many people do this thing of saying, oh, someone has a great relationship. They've been married for 50 years. 50 years doesn't make a great relationship. Your choice makes a great relationship. So someone could be with someone for 1 year or 50 years or 5 years or 5 months. Time doesn't make great relationship. each and every day, and each and every day that you choose makes a great relationship. So it's like that's how it works. And what I've found, and I know Brendan has too, in all the classes that we've been doing, is sorry, someone's trying to call me and then distracting me. So what we've found is people come in and go, oh, I want to find the one, or how do I get this relationship? How do I be with this man or this woman? And we will talk about that too. And I'm really grateful because so many people come out of this and go, wow, I get to have a relationship with me. And if you choose to have that relationship with you, it's like that's when you can choose to have a relationship with somebody else. But then you're choosing to have a relationship with someone else based on choice and not based on necessity. Like, I've got to have this by the time I'm 30. No, if you go, so Reshma, you go, okay, I'd actually like, if you'd like to have that energy in your life, then what is it you're actually asking for to show up? Like, one of the things that I used to ask for all the time, like, I'm not saying I'm smart, it's a good thing because I would ask for men to show up who were judgmental of me because it matched the judgments I had of me. And then I never had to be vulnerable with who I was being or what I was choosing. And just before Brendan showed up, I asked for someone to show up that was kind and caring and nurturing.
Yeah.
So what is it that you're asking for? And it's not the how, and it's not, oh, look, they're over there. It's like, oh, they've got to be 6'2" and drive a red car and have this education and this amount of money in the bank account. No, it's the energies that you're asking for to show up. So
yeah,
we can help with all of that. But I know both of our desires is that you don't judge what you're choosing ever.
Yeah. Oh my God, that gives you so much more freedom, right? When you're not choosing relationship from a space of necessity and you're choosing it because you can choose and you can, it's not like, okay, a lot of people also, once they choose, they feel trapped. Oh my God, I have to be with this person for the rest of my life. And then there's no choice there. And then there's no fun there. So the whole reason why we actually chose it in the first place is lost. That was fun and to create a greater life.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love the idea of choosing a relationship from a space of fun, and because you just would like to create with that person, and not because that person is validating you somehow or making you feel complete in some way, or whatever. There's so many reasons we choose those things. And
Hollywood, Bollywood, it's like they make it all about you complete me. Oh my God, my other half, I wouldn't be me without you. And all of that crap, if we took that out, and like you said, what if we just asked for fun?
Yeah.
Like, what if the purpose of relationship was to have fun? And look, it hasn't been that over, historically. I mean, marriage was originally created to create wealth. You married into families so that families could join lands together. They could join riches together. I mean, I saw this movie not long ago and I thought it was hysterical that this woman is saying, I don't want to marry this guy. And she says, look, you have to marry this guy. And she says, as soon as you get married, then you can do whatever the hell you want. Like, basically, you can sleep with whoever you want. But that's what they used to do years ago. They would marry for wealth, and then they would have separate bedrooms, and they would have lovers, and they would do all of that. But that was why they got married. And then it got changed. I mean, in India, it's like the amount of, arranged marriages. And I know that that's still a thing, and it's also still not a thing. So it's going through changes. And, growing up in Australia, you definitely, many, many years ago, you were looked upon that if you weren't married by, 30, then it was, like you said, going to be a spinster, etc. And nowadays, so many people live with each other and then they come and go. I mean, there's so many divorced families or, kids. And here's something, though, the kids with parents that live in separate houses. And I'm like, there's something about that. Because when I lived with Brandon and we had my stepson, Nash, having him like 1 week and then not having him for a few days, you're like, oh, I don't even have to cook dinner tonight. This is great. So having the kids there, but not every night, was actually really nice. And I was like, there's something to be said about this, like those quote unquote broken homes, but are they broken, or does the kid actually get to manipulate everything? So
exactly. Yeah. And when you just said that, is that about what was that you said? Yeah, get married and then you can do everything. You have no idea how many times my parents say that to me. Get married and you can do whatever you want to do. And I'm like, what does that even mean? It's such a crazy manipulation, and now I know why they say that.
Yeah.
But well.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's very funny. So thank you so much for this conversation. And somebody is asking, yes, you guys asking, what's the price of the class? I know it's 69,000 rupees.
Yeah, I'm
I know.
going to say I don't know. So the deal is there is global pricing. So there's it's the set Australian price, and then I know India gets the. Do you know? I don't know what percentage of
So
that you
what
pay.
I remember of, don't quote me on this, but I think it's 1,900 AUD. That's 69,000 INR. And for everybody who's asking for that, I will put in the link once we're
Okay.
done with this.
And there is a prerequisite of the foundation class. You have to have done foundation class to come. So, which
Yes.
was great because it just everyone then is just like, yes, let's go. It's
Yes.
makes it way easier for everyone involved. So yeah, but we would love to have you, and it's at a great time for India. So I mean, starting at 10 a.m. in Australia, so it's early morning for you guys, but it's a good time.
Yes, it's 5 a.m. in India, so it's great
That's
time
a
for
great
us
time.
to
Get up, have some chai. We'll have
Yes,
a break.
absolutely.
You can have breakfast.
Yeah. And it's on the 20th or the 21st, Simon? 20th, I
Uh,
guess. I think
so
20th. I'll put in the link
yeah.
Oh, somebody put in the link.
Yeah, 21st. So it's the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of August. Friday,
Right.
Saturday, Sunday.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon, for that information. And Rashmi's put in all the pricing details in the chat. So thank you for writing the book. Thank you for having this conversation. And thank you for creating this beautiful class, Simon. Like I just did a COP in June with you. And oh my God, it's changed everything for me. I am unstoppable. And I know
Awesome. That's good.
that's
I
not
like to hear that.
but I am, and I am creating, and you're a great catalyst to all the change that's occurred, that I'm also choosing. And thank you for being so amazing.
Thank you, and happy birthday in 9 days' time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have
So
way too much
maybe,
fun. What's
yes,
that?
not at all. And maybe I will gift myself the relationship done.
Be a friend. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Reshma. Mwah.
Yeah. So, bye bye. See you soon.
Bye.